This is the first thing you're going to see when you open Lightroom. And when you have photos previously imported to your catalog, they're going to show up in your library and as well as in your film strip. Right now I'm on all photographs. That's why I have all of these. But the thing that we talked about earlier is that you can manage the photos, manage the representation of those photos. I'm going to demonstrate it right here. So let's take a look at this image. Now this image is not on my hard drive right now. It's not on my computer, and I have not it's not on my computer, and it's not in any drive that's connected to the computer. But it still shows up here as a preview. But if I wanted to edit this, for example, I'm going to click on it, go to develop. The file could not be found. So I can't do anything right here. But as soon as I connect the drive that contains this image, I can edit this. And there may be times where you even forget that, oh, I had this image. So you would have to find it, connect it, and then you would be able to edit it. But let's look at another photo that I do have on my drive right now. And Lightroom has access to the location of the original file. That would be this image, for example, and I took this in last year, 2020. I'm able to edit this photo because it is still located on my local drive. And I think this is a great way to manage your images. You would be able to keep track. You could put them in catalogs and also put them in collections and folders. We'll get into those later. But another thing that I did want to mention is that I had the Lightroom Classic a couple years ago. I imported all of these images. I uninstalled the, I'm still using the same computer, but I uninstalled the program itself. And then when I installed it again, all of my images are still there, or should I say the previews are still there. The catalog is still there, and I think that's really great because let's say if your computer dies and it like factory resets for some reason, you would still be able to have these previews. And if you were lucky and your images were all backed up, you could simply plug in that drive that has the images, locate them on Lightroom, and you could now edit them. And if you notice here, you can see this mark here. This means that the photo is missing. So if you wondered which ones are on your drive right now, because it's really hard to keep track, you could just look up here and it says photo is missing, but this one that we just showed, smart preview. Yeah, so I can do anything I want with this image, but not with the ones that the photos are missing, unless I relocate them. Okay, let's say I want to import images. That would be the first thing you would want to do if you don't have any images already. I have enough images, but I'm going to import some images. I'm going to hit import right here. And I'm importing it straight to my catalog, by the way. You could create a new catalog. That is something you would have to do since you've just started. So select a source. Find the source that you have your images in. Let's look at where mine would be. I would be in files, and let's go on manipulations. And I have a lot of images right now. As you can see, it selected every single one. You could hit this, uncheck all, so you can select a few. And there's also, this is all of the photos. And if you hit new photos, which is the newest one, but I've added them all around the same time, so there isn't a new image, so it doesn't really matter which way I go. And right now it's on add. This means to it's asking Lightroom to just add the images. Don't do anything to them, and we just want those basically representations that we talked about. With move, I can ask Lightroom to move the images from a location to another. With copy, I can ask Lightroom to create copies of certain images from, let's say, an external drive onto another location through Lightroom. Creating copies is always helpful because it's like having plan B. If you lose the original, you always have the copy. So if you feel like you might lose the original, you can create copies somewhere and make sure to back them up so you don't lose those images. And then you have copy as DNG. Now DNG is Lightroom's own format of camera raw. So it's essentially the same thing, but it's Lightroom's own format. Like camera raw files, DNGs are also quite large in size and in resolution. So you would use this type of format if you want to later print your image or publish it with a really big resolution. But for this case where we're just going to show how to import and edit, that won't be necessary. You would want to do this if you want to later maybe share the image, print the image, and if you wanted like a large output, then you would want to use this. But right now I'm just using add, and I can change the way you can see the images. Right now it's grid view. You can have them be singular like this. And I'll just go back to grid view, and you could change the thumbnail size. And right now they're on the smallest thumbnail size. You could increase these to however large you want them to be. And if you want them to be singular, just press this. And now they're singular. And now let's just choose a bunch of images to import. Let's import this and this. Let me just zoom out. Okay. And you can also sort them. Let's open this by file type, media type, file name, capture type, and checked status. Now media type, well, these are all images, but if you had videos, you could also sort those out. File type, maybe it's a JPEG, maybe it's a PNG. You gotta choose the format. File name, it basically sorts them by name. And the checked state is the last time you did anything with that image. So if I go on checked it, I haven't done anything with these images, so I'm not going to do that. Capture time is the time they were captured. Let's have a look, and the one at the top would be the earliest time that it was captured, and the one at the bottom would be the latest time that it was captured. These are images from pixels. In this case, that's how they are categorized. So let's just import these two images, and then we have this on. If you're opening, if you plugged in your SD card, your camera SD card, or a flash drive, there would be a lot of duplicates, right? It happens all the time, and Lightroom has this thing where it automatically separates those duplicates. So let's say if I had 3 images of this lady right here and I turned this on, I would only be seeing one of those. But if I turn this off, I would be seeing all 3. So this is helpful to keep on just in case you don't want your catalog, you don't want your library to be full of duplicates. And I could even add them to a collection. Let's turn this on, and let's say that I have 2 collections right now. I will have to make a new one actually. Let's name it whites, for example, because there's a lot of whites in these 2 images. Let's create that, and I will add this to whites. And I don't want to do anything with these. Metadata, you could actually make metadata. Let's quickly have a look at how we could do that. Okay, so metadata is basically the invisible data behind each image. That could be your copyright info, your name, the date, whatever you want, even your camera info. There's so much you could put in there. But the basic info, which is what I recommend you guys put, is your your name and your information. And what this does is that it just has like an invisible tag that you took this image and this image belongs to you, which is helpful if you're sending these images, you're posting them online, or you're making them available for download. And it's just safe to have some of these, but I'm not going to get into this right now. We'll come back to this later in another lesson. Let's get out of that. And then we have keywords, and keywords are what you can use to sort your images later on. So let's say if I write whites, because there's whites in this, I add this keyword whites. Let's just add it quickly. And then once I'm done with these, with the editing, I could come back, go into search bar and search whites. These two images will appear, and any other image that I've put whites as a keyword. So that's it right now. Let's hit import. I'm going to import it to my catalog. It's importing files. Let's wait for it. It's fetching initial previews. Okay, they're here. And notice that we're in catalog and we're no longer in all photographs. So don't panic that your photos are no longer there. It's because you're in previous import. And these are the imports that I've made recently, so that's where I am. But if I go back to all photographs, I'll just go back to where I was. So let's go here. And I also added them into a collection. So if I hit whites here, I would have these images right now. And this is how the library works. I'm also going to show you another way where if you have a lot of images you want to import, but you want them to be organized. Meaning that if, for example, if there was a wedding and you took so many images, you organize those images based off the name or the location. Maybe you have a lot of photos from one of your aunts, you have some photos from your uncles. You previously categorized them in your files. And another good thing about Lightroom is that when you import that file containing those sub-files that you use to categorize each image, it's going to import the same structure. So let's see how that works. Okay, I'm back in my catalog and I'm just going to show a file that I used to categorize my images that are outside of my Lightroom. So let's minimize Lightroom. And right here I have created a file called My Photographs. And I have categorized images, some being very general and some being very specific. I have also included a video just to show you that Lightroom picks up the videos as well, but you obviously cannot edit them in Lightroom. So it's just there for just seeing them. And I've got some landscape images, some random ones. I got a specific folder about a certain cousin of mine. Got some random portraits. And now I'm going to import this folder, the main folder, into Lightroom. And I want to show you how Lightroom picks off these folders just the way that I have categorized them. So let's come back here. Going to hit import. Okay, select the source. Let's select, it's already here, my desktop. I go to my photographs. And guys, notice that there's only one video here because this was outside of those subfolders. The reason why I'm not seeing those subfolders, I have to go in here like individually, but if you want all of those images, you simply go to My Photographs and you see right here, include subfolders. So if I press this, all of those images are going to show up and the video as well. So I want all of these images imported, but not the video. So I'm going to uncheck the video, but now I know the video is there. So let's not do that. Let's not import a video in here. Again, I could add them to a collection. Let's create a new collection called Summer 2020, for example. And I'm not going to add them into a set. Let's just create that. Okay. And all these images are going into summer 2020. And I'm not going to add some, let's add some keywords so we can later come back to it. Let's write summer. That's my keyword. I could add more if I want. That's enough for now. And again, don't import suspected duplicates. Okay, I'm just going to import all these images. Include subfolders. And let's import this. Oh, and let's add the keyword summer. No metadata. Let's add to a collection. Let's call it summer 2020 and hit import. Okay, now they're here and it's just fetching some previews. Let's wait for that. Now while this happens, notice that there's two icons in the corner of each image. What these icons stand for is that, first of all, this is the keyword that we added. We added that to every single image so they all have it. And the second icon on the right means that these images are within a collection. And our collection was summer 2020. So if you see these tags next to your image, just know that this is why they're here. And because you did those adjustments earlier. So let's go to summer 2020. Okay, we're finished with the previews. We know why these icons are there. And if we look at our disks, we have a local disk. Right now, that's all that's here. And now we have that folder that we created earlier with each of the, and if I move over them, you see that it only selects the images that were in that subfolder, like the portraits. If I go on here, it will select the two images that were in that image, in that folder, and the same with the landscape ones. And then if you look here, I have some missing folders. And because my catalog is from a couple years ago, these folders no longer exist in their original location, but Lightroom has the data of them, so it's like where the original files. Because of them not being on my disk, I can no longer edit them, so they have a question mark over here. So this is how you edit a bunch of photos. Let's close this off. And if I were to choose the ones with metadata, okay, it collects all the metadata from all of these images. So we got the dates, got the camera type, we got the lens, it even knows the lens, and there are no labels because I didn't add any labels yet. So this is pretty cool. If I have a lot of images, maybe I uploaded my entire hard drive, I could go back to a certain date and a certain camera and even a certain lens and just sort them by their metadata. If there's like a text, we can just search here if we want the copy name, file name, and for keywords, if I choose keywords, because they're all named with the same keyword, is only going to show that. So if I had one image without the keyword, it's not going to show up over here. So let's go to attribute. And attributes are like the ones that were flagged, which we haven't flagged anyone here. The ones that we will have given a star rating. We will get into those later, but the flag and ratings would show down here. You can see the 5 dots. We will get into those later on. But for now, this is how you edit a bunch of images, give them keywords, and import a folder with the subfolders, and to add them to collections. So if we go back here, I have my whites collection containing those two images, and I have my summer 2020. So this is how you import images in Lightroom and how the library works. In the following lessons, we're going to learn more about the this part where we keyword them, we give them metadata, and we give them ratings and so on. So stick around and learn more about the other parts of the library, because there's a lot of parts you have to learn. So I'll see you in the next few lessons.